welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I'm Sal.
And I'm Ethan.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hey, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks.
This
Thanks for having me.
It's a rare treat.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have you, man. I'm sure they are as well. Welcome to the live show. Unless you're watching this after the fact, in which case, welcome to the show. By the way, this show has a sponsor, and I bet you didn't know this. It's you out there. The sponsors of the show are actually viewers of the show when it's live.
Thing. Yeah, okay.
See,
I was like, what? Oh, you didn't tell me there was a sponsor.
No. But I don't tell any of my co-hosts when there's a sponsor. I like to spring it on them.
Right. That's a great idea.
It's very professional. But it's actually you. So if you are watching the show live and you want to contribute to the show in any way with a comment or a question, use the super chats, and I will read them here on the program and weave them organically into the narrative as we go. So you'll be part.
Given our last.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
It's like, oh crap, we got to do some super chats.
Yeah. Oh crap. Yeah, exactly. But keep it,
Yeah. I'll try to give you some openings.
That's a good idea. I mean, the reality is like they're here for us.
Yeah.
And they're just excited about participating when they inevitably use the super chats.
Right.
Which of course they're not.
Not yet.
No, but
they are talking about me though, so I like that.
I like that. They're talking about me. I like that. I'm popular. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about Watchmen a little bit. We're gonna preface this. This is where everyone who hates us or who doesn't know who we are is gonna go like, okay, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
I haven't watched
Numbers
the show. Yeah, I haven't watched the show.
No, me either. I've read a little bit about it.
Yes.
And the premise.
And I've seen a bunch of the trailers. I've seen a scene or two of the show. And I've also read a couple of like articles about how like brilliant it is. That being said, I don't watch the show, part because I don't have goddamn time, but the other part is because I don't think we need more Watchmen. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I know that Watchmen's one of the few comics you have read, and not only read, but also really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
That it matters.
Yeah.
And it has some depth. And every time we talked about like a Watchmen spin-off, sequel, prequel, you usually respond with a similar sound effect or disdain. You're just like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Before Watchmen, it was one of the first times when DC was in trouble, as it often is. They were like, "Oh crap! How about we sequelize Watchmen? We won't sequelize it. We're not gonna totally go full tilt. Prequelize Watchmen.
We do want to make more money on it, though.
Yes,
somehow.
Look. What's the point of owning this property?
Yeah.
If we're not going to milk it to death, like why wouldn't we just sell it back to more if we're just gonna use it? Just to reprint every year,
right? And
make the residuals off the sales of the graphic novel, please. No. New content. That's where it's all about. That's what we were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
Was that we're in the new content era of media. It's just all about new content. It's all about reboots, and I mean even Kevin Smith's doing it.
Yeah, well, it's new content and it's safe content.
Right.
It's what can I invest in that will get me a guaranteed return?
Yes.
Or a near guaranteed, close to a guaranteed return as I can possibly get.
Well, and we've talked about this on the show before, the fact that entertainment media as a business is a horrible business. It's like the restaurant industry, where it's like, if you have the opportunity, don't invest in it, because like 9 out of 10, they'll fail.
Yeah.
Because in the entertainment industry, it's one thing if you're like betting on a stock, right? If you're making your stock options and you're like, okay, I've been watching the trajectory of this stock, they're planning to release some new technology or some new innovation that you can quantify will increase the value of said stock. You can make a prediction, sell at the right time, or at least buy at the right time. With the entertainment industry, it's the exact same thing, only with artists instead of a proven track record. So it's like, well, you made a story that resonated with teens, age 18 to 25. Maybe if I give you triple the budget of the last story you told, I will be able to make quadruple my amounts. Where are these numbers coming from?
Yeah.
The ether. Literally
I looked at some prior movie where that happened.
Right.
And I think that like a single data point is
enough.
A valid
to invest millions of dollars into an artistic vision.
I look at it as like when the entertainment industry, when the movie industry was in its heyday,
Okay.
we'll say.
What's the heyday?
The heyday will say, like, shortly after they introduced talking into movies.
So like around the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, up through maybe like the 50s.
Okay,
up
to
through
the 50s.
like a little bit past.
Well, because the
color.
50s is when they were just churning out garbage at like a breakneck speed.
Right.
They had sets. They're building 2 movies at a time.
Right. And how did studios get people in the seats? What was their formula for like guaranteed return?
Besides the novelty of going to the film.
Besides just the fact that like there weren't that many movies. Once there was a lot of movies,
well,
how did you
keep them?
Yeah.
I think it was hitting on phenomena. I know that they generated like
sometimes
because there was the B movie sci-fi age, the westerns, the romances.
Yeah, so matching the current trend, war movies, stuff like
exactly.
that. But there was another way.
Oh, what's the other way? I'm curious.
Stars.
They
were star vehicles. It was like get Charlton Heston. Well, later Charlton Heston.
Right.
Get Audrey Hepburn in your movie.
Audrey Hepburn.
Whoever. The leading man, the leading lady. These were very important things in the movie, and it did generate money. People would go to a movie to see an actor.
Right. Yeah. They were going to see the next Cary Grant picture.
Yeah.
They weren't going because Cary Grant was in and of course, really on a very smaller scale. Like David O. Selznick was a name that was interchangeable with like quality. Mm-hmm. So if David O. Selznick was producing, by the way, they celebrated producers back in the day.
Yeah.
Was producing a picture, you knew you were seeing something of quality or gravitas.
Yeah.
Hitchcock making pictures like that.
Yep.
So
Spielberg eventually.
So basically what you're saying is brand recognition was important for the sustainability of the entertainment industry.
Yes. And I think what happened is once the industry started to suffer from television, the home media market, competition. They saw the guaranteedness eroding.
Yes,
it was harder and harder to get people in seats. They needed something more because it wasn't just enough to cast Tom Hanks or there weren't enough people like that either.
Exactly.
So what can you do? Well, you turn to something derivative that people already want.
Right.
Because
or that you've
it's just
seen them succeed with.
Yes, it's because it's just harder to make money in movies.
Yeah.
Because people have so many more entertainment options.
Right.
So I think it's like just an inevitable sort of evolution.
Right. Well, and we've seen how media has evolved to today in response to that, where, it used to be the home theater experience was the big deal, right? Mm-hmm. Like bigger TVs, better sound systems, and then of course like decreasing prices for technology and making it like more easy than ever until it got to the point where actually I'm going to sacrifice that because I just want to watch it on my phone in bed.
Now it's convenience.
Convenience is key.
Yeah.
And so how am I going to convince somebody to go to the movie theater?
Yeah.
Go out.
Yeah.
And then go into a place, spend double the money, sit around strangers and endure that nonsense.
Yeah. When people don't even care to go into their living room and turn on their giant TV, and we all have big TVs now.
Look at disposable media, or at the very least, like collective, like home media. Like we have these like great discs that have like all this like jam-packed content on them, and I'll just watch the same movie I own but on TV because I'm lying on the couch right now.
Yeah.
Like, how many times has that happened? Where you're watching TV, you're like, oh, my favorite movie's on, and it's cut to shit, and it's got commercials, and I literally have it sitting in a box over there.
Yeah, but, like, it's over there.
But it's all over there.
Get up and put it in.
And then the irony, of course, is during the commercial, they show a trailer for a movie that you have to go see in the theater. I'm like, oh, yeah, right. I'm not even getting up, much less leaving the house. But yeah, well, and of course, that's translatable as a comic book podcast. To comic books,
yes.
I got to go to a specialty shop to purchase this particular disposable media, bring it home, read. Ugh. It's just until the point where it's like, okay, comics on your phone. Unfortunately, it's like a monopoly, and it's run by a faceless corporation called Amazon. Like it's already a disaster.
Still gotta read it.
Still gotta read it. Can they read it to me? Some of them do.
Turns out they can.
Yeah, but not the big two. But so the brandization of movies was a way to combat like the growing alternate interests in your attention.
Yeah, it's a way to try to lock in or guarantee as much as possible a return on your investment, because it is a business. It's all a business.
Exactly.
You're trying to generate reliable
return.
Revenue. Yeah. So it's great to have like a one-off like Avatar that makes a whole bunch of money.
Sure.
But the real thing is like, but how do I make sure that I make that money?
Yeah.
I'd rather guaranteed make half as much per movie as Avatar made on like a bunch of movies a year than have like one random hit that I couldn't predict was going to be a hit.
Yeah. Although I would argue that Avatar is a great example, but also was like like a perfect genetic experiment.
Yeah.
Like it's James Cameron. And James Cameron, like, made Avatar in a lab. Like, he's like, okay, I'm going to use this percentage of Last of the Mohicans, and this percentage of Pocahontas, and this percentage of science fiction, and this percentage of bullshit new technology that is enough of the gimmick. And I'll put it out during a period when it's, like, a bad season for movies because there'll be no competition. Like, it was a perfectly engineered baby.
You hit all the points. That's the other way to get, because he spent a lot of money, but he
also was
able to justify it.
And he's not a first-time filmmaker. Like, he knows how to make the Benjamins, or at the very least he knows how to tell a story that will deliberately manipulate the audience into not only being tricked into going to it, but then being tricked into saying that they liked it when they left it. So but the movie industry itself is a like quagmire of business where it's like, I'm betting the farm on an uncertain thing. And so when it comes to Watchmen, I'm gonna make a prequel to Watchmen because you know what Watchmen is. People who don't read comics know what Watchmen is. People who read
the few brands that has prestige outside of comics, other than Marvel movies.
Right, and that's the thing.
What else can we? And HBO is a prestige
network.
Yeah,
they produce quality content that also has breasts in them, like.
Which Watchmen also has.
Of course, hey, why not, right?
I mean, a perfect fit.
It's a match made in heaven to make a Watchmen adaptation through HBO, which of course HBO has been the place. That's more of an accident than it is a function, because HBO has been like the place to go for adult-oriented entertainment forever until HBO had, I don't know, what is it, 11 different streaming services that can compete with it now that can make whatever they want. But with Watchmen, Watchmen is a proven brand that has gravitas, and so as such, you know, I'll make a sequel or a prequel to it, and that'll make us at least this much. We know, I mean, we publish Watchmen. We know, this is DC talking, of course. We know how much Watchmen, the thing that we made 35 years ago, can bring in. So we know we'll at least get that much. At least in the first shot. So, and if we can quantify that, then boom, then it's a totally worthwhile investment.
You're guaranteed buzz. You're guaranteed free advertising, all the think pieces about
whether you should do it or not.
And we'll get a boost to sales of old copies, reprints of Watchmen as well.
Well, at least that's the hope. I've noticed the DC doesn't really think like that. Like, they think as far as that, but then they don't go, make sure to put out like an absolute edition of Watchmen at the same time, and make sure to put out like 16 different trade paperbacks and like reprint. Hey, how about we do flashback reprint editions of the original series of Watchmen? You know, it's 12 issues. We'll print them all out, and we'll get our top artists to do variant covers on all of them. Like, just throw the freaking barn at it. You know what I mean? But like, they didn't do that.
It seems like
it's odd because it's such a greedy move.
They didn't do that for the movie either. They did produce like an absolute edition. I want to say around that time there was some edition that was produced around then, but they didn't do like the variant covers and all that stuff. And it could be because they like someone in DC is like, no, don't
found it that repugnant.
Do that to you can make your before Watchmen and you can make your movie,
but
and
you can hurt.
But let's leave the original. You could make it bigger.
You can make it bigger,
add like art and stuff in the back
and margins.
Let's not add a bunch of crap to it, please. This one thing, maybe. I like to think that
I would love to believe that's true. I just think it didn't occur to them.
Well, that would
be
damning. Because that means they're a shitty company.
Oh, I mean, look at Before Watchmen. Before Watchmen is not very good. Just all of them. They got the top echelon of creators to work on it, and it's still at best forgettable, much less good.
Nobody talks about it now.
No, but it's in the nickel bins, and they don't even make nickel bins. Like, literally,
that means it's in no bin.
That's in no bin. Well, it's in every bin, but like, hey, if you buy 10 comics in the quarter bin, we'll throw in the entire suite of Before Watchmen. Like, literally, I was at a thrift store, I think a couple months ago. They had all of Before Watchmen in floppies, packaging taped together, like tape on cover. You just gotta destroy the copies to read them. Like, and they were $1 for the whole run that they ruined. And they did that after they put it on sale, because they were just like, oh, we got to put them together. Well, I'm 80 years old and run a thrift store. I'll just put tape all over it. I'm like, you ruined it. At least it was Before Watchmen.
At least it doesn't matter.
I mean, and arguably, like, and it kills me, where I'm like, why did you waste it on that? Like, the Kuberts, the sons and the father, back when Joe was around, worked on the Night Owl series. like together. And I'm like, hey, how about you just put them on a Batman book? You're not shy away from making Batman books. Yeah. Why did you waste it on Night Owl? I was at the Kubert School the other day, and they gave me a poster of it. Of the Night Owl book.
Sweet.
I'm like, thanks. This will never go up. But anyway, so we're talking about Watchmen and whether they should sequelize it. We're going to get into it more deeply, but first, there's some super chats we're going to get to.
All right, let's do super chats.
Yeah. Rusky number 10 says, yay, Ethan.
Yay, me. I agree. Yay, me.
Yeah, good contribution. So in the age of universes and sequels, is it even worth trying to make movies of content that is a one-shot? Like, is it I guess what you're saying...
Yeah, well, that's the question. I mean, that's why...
No one makes one-shots anymore.
Like, right. Yeah, no,
even if they
not,
do, in their one-shot, they're like, but how can we... Can you put in a backdoor sequel somewhere in there? I mean, they... Wrath of Khan, how long did that come out?
How long ago?
Yeah. Was it 84? Something like that?
Yeah.
So it's like over 35 years old?
Yeah.
Remember. Like, even like we're killing Spock. We're just doing all.
Or are we?
Or maybe not.
Yeah.
Depending on if you let Nimoy direct the third one. Like, damn you. You can't. So no, there are no one-shots. But some altruistic creature who wants to make a good story is like, I got this one idea.
Right. So here's the thing. You say, is it even worth trying to make? Well, worth from what perspective? From a financial perspective?
No.
It might be, but it's a big risk. It's a big risk, and you got to find someone who's willing to take that risk, or you've got to take on a lot of personal risk to make it. But from an artistic standpoint, is it worth it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course it is. Like,
well, if a story you believe is worth telling, then it's always worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Redhead Media says, I think the better question is, should Watchmen be a part of the DC universe, or should it just stand on its own?
Well, until recently it did.
For longer than it's been that way longer than not.
Yeah.
And I think based on the current regime at DC, it will continue to be that way. We'll see. We've got to talk about Doomsday Clock.
I know very little about Doomsday Clock.
We'll talk about that a little bit, because we're going to do that show on back issues in the future, and I want Ethan's responses to be genuine and earnest, as they will be, and he'll be horrified. But we'll get into it. No, I mean, we'll just horrified by how far.
Yeah.
You know, like when we read The Button.
Yeah.
I
remember
the buttons in it. That's all there was.
Right.
And you were like,
what?
Yeah, and you were like, like you were just but the buttons in it. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
But like this is like literally like comedian is shooting at DC villains and stuff. Like it's that level of interactivity.
Yeah.
Joshua Wright says, consider this a grant for science, aka Ethan.
Oh, thank you, Josh.
Andres Black says, hey, ComicPOP, don't often get to see you guys live due to time zones. Just wanted to say thank you for your content, getting me back into reading comics. I'm glad to hear that, man. Thank you so much. And thank you for your contribution. Mr. Roboto says, does Doomsday Clock count as a Watchmen sequel? Yes.
Yeah, well, because in the Watchmen universe, it takes place after the events of Watchmen, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
For Watchmen, do you know what happens after Watchmen? No. In Doomsday Clock, do you know what happens after Watchmen? Yeah.
Yeah. Sequel.
So yes, sequel.
Unless it's another Watchmen universe, an alternate to Watchmen universe.
Which it could be.
I guess.
Like, if you're going to say Watchmen is in the DC multiverse, then sure.
Yeah.
But I would call them like the timely characters that they were based on in the first place. Cansav says, Ethan, favorite Spider-Man movie? Love you guys. You know what? That's your question.
Yeah. Favorite Spider-Man movie, I would say Homecoming.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Did you see Far From Home?
I did see Far From Home, and I really liked Far From Home.
But you still like Homecoming more.
I've only seen Far From Home once. I would have to see it a couple more times to like cement my views of it versus Homecoming. Right now, it's still Homecoming. That might be an emotional thing where it was the first one.
Yeah.
With the new
in that universe,
in the new like part of the Marvel universe thing. So it could just be that there's nostalgia for that, but. I really love the Vulture.
He's so great.
Michael Keaton's Vulture is so amazing that it's just. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal like knocks it out of the park.
No. He's Mysterio.
With Mysterio. I'm saying he does a great job. To me,
Michael
Keaton is better. So like just on those on that aspect, I got to give it to Homecoming.
Yeah.
But like I said, I got to see Far From Home one or two more times because there could be other cool stuff in there. I would appreciate more on a second view.
Sure, definitely. Yeah, I've seen both of them on repeat viewings now, and it's hard.
Yeah.
The easier public answer is just Into the Spider-Verse.
See, I saw Into the Spider-Verse. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I still like Homecoming better.
Yeah.
For
me, it's apples and oranges.
If I was a comic book fan, maybe I'd like Into the Spider-Verse more? I'm
not
sure.
I don't know. I mean, like, I think if you're a pure die-in-the-wool Spider-Man fan, then you might like Into the Spider-Verse more, just because it's all Spider-Man, no references to anything else. For me, I believe Spider-Man is intrinsically Marvel. So it's like, there is no Spider-Man without the other Marvel universe. He's set against it. Like, the whole point is he can't be an outsider. He can't be a loner in the Marvel universe if there is no Marvel universe. Otherwise, it's just, he's Superman then. He's he's the only superhero. It's my only real gripe with the Raimi movies, besides all the Raimiisms. But, you know, which is just literally, he's Superman then. Yeah. Like, they're just like, oh, thank Christ Spider-Man's here! Because there's literally no one else in the universe with powers.
Right.
And we have this one guy who has the most mundane comparatively to, like, what we know about his powers, which is Superman. Damn it. So
I guess we're screwed.
Unless I happen to be falling while he's coming by. And Andy Colliver says, hope this hasn't been asked, but did DC get their act together with the TV on HBO Max? Green Lantern could work as a serialized show. Thanks for your great shows. Thank you very much, Andy. If you're not familiar, HBO has basically said that DC's got to make like 5 shows or something.
What?
Like for HBO's new streaming service. And they're given movie budgets.
DC said that?
HBO made the announcement.
Oh, that they're going to do multiple DC shows
that are not in the same wheelhouse as like the DC Universe shows or the CW shows. These are like movie shows or HBO level quality
like
shows.
Like prestige shows.
Like the one that they announced, which was Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And I think Adam Strange, which is...
okay. So they're doing like the Netflix Marvel shows equivalent for the DC Universe.
Yes.
Because, I'm sorry, Arrow and Flash are
not Netflix level quality. No. They straight up aren't.
Yeah.
Especially if you've seen the promo CW released for the Supergirl show. Where they were like, yes, you're welcome. Here is Supergirl. It's coming out, and it looks like a PlayStation 2 video game. And it's like... It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because I read a thread about that, and they were talking about like, hi, I work in VFX. I do TV shows. These guys had no money and no time, and this is the best they could do. That's all I can say. And I'm like, I hear you, man.
Yeah.
But it's out, though, and we can make fun of it because it looks so embarrassing.
That's old school TV. I mean, that's what TV always was until...
Breaking Bad.
Very recent. Yeah, really.
Until, like, Sopranos, I think.
Yeah, Sopranos was one of the first to kind of break that dam and, like, give TV legitimacy. But for years, like, TV was, like, a joke.
Right.
For most of its history compared with movies.
Yeah.
And nobody cared if it was, like, super high quality.
Right.
If the writing was, like, really that good.
Well,
or the acting
look at the differentiation between, like, TV actors and movie actors, and then like, oh, it turns out like being in movies doesn't pay as well as being in TV shows. So like suddenly True Detective has like everyone in it. You're like, oh.
Well, it turns out like paying someone to produce 10 hours of
pays
content
better, yeah.
pays more than someone who's only being paid for 2 hours worth of final content.
Yeah, and the
promise of like maybe additional groups of 10 hours of content.
Plus, as an actor, it's attractive because, like, I get to work with the character more. Mm-hmm. Unless I'm on, like, an ABC show, in which case I'm doing the same character in every episode for 17 seasons. So, you know, you got that going for you. I mean, like, you know, it depends on what network you're on.
Yeah, yeah.
My mom was complaining about this literally the other day. She was like, I was watching NBC the other day. I'm like, well, there's your problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why weren't you watching Netflix?
Right. If you have the choice.
Or Hulu. Or FX, or AMC, or HBO. What are you doing?
There is I think there's a role for the more traditional, filled with commercials style of TV. It's a little more like turn off your brain.
Oh, definitely.
And just like enjoy.
Yeah, I think it's called Big Bang Theory.
Yes, yeah, the perfect example. Like, I hate the Big Bang Theory. However,
guilty.
I've watched many episodes.
And I
laugh. And I'm like, this was fine. You know,
right.
There are some days I come home from work and I just want that. I've never done that, like turned on Big Bang Theory. But if someone else puts it on, I'm like, all right, whatever.
You're not gonna be like, no.
Yeah, I think it's
pitch a fit
from like a perspective of like respect.
I think that's really what it is.
I have a real problem with it, but like I can't fault like what it is. It's as good as most.
It's a Chuck Lorre show.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same show. He's just like, well, but this time it's nerds.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And it's a Warner Brothers production, so like, there's gonna be no Marvel in it.
Right. They're DC nerds exclusively.
Yeah. I think they're all nerds, but like, what was it? One of them dressed like Thor, and it was like Thor the god, like not but he pretended like it was Thor.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing. Those are details, not like why the show sucks. Like the show sucks. Like Sports Night. This is dating me, but Sports Night was a show that I think Aaron Sorkin produced it, and it was like I found it so offensive because it was a show that was not a comedy, but it was billed as one. Yeah, it was actually kind of bold, where they were like, "We're going to release a comedy that has no jokes in it." And it
will not tell a single joke.
And we're going to just see if anyone responds to it. And like, thankfully, America said no. But like,
but a few people were like,
"Yes, oh, this is like news radio," and I'm like, "Oh no, another news radio fan."
I love news radio. It is nothing like news radio. News radio had jokes, many jokes.
I know, but news radio
and actual comedians.
I compare news radio to Sports Night because the same level of fanaticism comes out when you invoke news radio as you would do with Sports Night. Because I guarantee you,
it's so weird. Like news radio, that's where you're drawing the line in the sand. Sports Night, I don't remember those things hardly.
I watched like 3 episodes of Sports Night, maybe. I've seen certainly more episodes of news radio.
I want to say I watched 1 episode of Sports Night.
It's the worst thing. It's the worst. I couldn't believe my eyes, and so I had to watch. I'm like, oh, right. It was. I think it was on Comedy Central, and I was like, I got nothing to do.
Yep.
Just watch another one. And I'm like, I hate everyone on the screen. Yeah. So, Watchmen.
Getting back to...
So like when it came to Watchmen, they put out the book. And then nothing for a while. Yeah. And then they did, before Watchmen, we just talked about that. Then they did the movie. Which,
was the movie? I thought the movie was before Watchmen.
Maybe it was. No, it was around the same time, I think. Yeah. Maybe they were trying to capitalize on it, because it was, of course, Warner Brothers production.
Right.
But in any respect, I think they're around the same time. But you got the movie, which in and of itself is like, not so much a sequel, but a reimagining. But still the first time it's the first time since, I guess, before Watchmen, that Alan Moore got really, really upset about Watchmen, since he remembered that he was a work-for-hire artist who was just doing a job for a company, and then suddenly realized that like he wasn't actually going to get to keep it.
Yeah. I don't know how mad he is.
I think he's professionally angry.
There's hardly any comments from him at all regarding it, because he doesn't really talk about it.
Well, and he's claimed he's never seen the movie. Yes. And it's because... I think it was, and that's funny because I would assume that he's like, oh, it's all horrible. But it all came from, what's it called? LXG.
LXG.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh.
Because his name is on that.
Yes,
and
it is.
It was the worst.
Right.
And he was like, and after that, he proclaimed my name won't be on any more adaptations. And that was the case with V for Vendetta. And that was the case for Watchmen.
What about From Hell?
Right, I think From Hell was before
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
So I'll bet his name is on that.
Yeah.
Also, equally unappreciated. I didn't really see From Hell, but
I didn't either.
The trailer didn't appeal to me, and then I was like, "Oh, it's an Alan Moore comic." Which year?
Yeah. When did he write it?
Yeah. But yeah.
I'm looking up now which one was first, because now I'm. Yeah, Watchmen movie was 2009. Before Watchmen was 2012.
Oh yeah, so there you go. So the movie came out first. So that was the first time that Alan Moore could get outraged.
Yeah,
and
could be mad at somebody taking his
work and doing
profiting from it.
Yeah, arguably one of Zack Snyder's best movies, because he didn't actually get to be creative with it. Like he's I'll just do the book.
Yeah. Which, thank God.
Oh, I know.
That's why that movie was like at all good.
Well, I mean, have you ever heard the storied history? Have you ever heard the tragedy of Watchmen? Have you ever heard the tragic history of the Watchmen movie attempts, where Terry Gilliam was attached to make the Watchmen movie back in 87 or whatever, 88 or whatever.
I guess that, yeah.
And he was like, oh, we're just gonna start from scratch. We're gonna rewrite the whole goddamn thing, and it was gonna end with Dan and Laurie getting sucked through a wormhole and ending up in the real world, where the Watchmen is a comic book that they're reading, and God, you're not going to Brazil up Watchmen, please.
Jesus. Well, that was in the 80s, I guess, where it was like, yeah, well, the movie is a totally different
We're not going to do the comic book, obviously.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, we want to make money. So it's not going to be the comic book.
Yeah, we've got to cut it up into pieces and we'll just take what's good.
Yeah. And then we'll put what we know.
And then put garbage around.
Well, I would say that whatever we come up with is brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing as we said with Batman 89, Tim Burton has said on record, anyone who's ever, the quote is, anyone who's ever known my work would know I would never read a comic book. So it's and then of course he's a quote on the dust jacket for Killing Joke saying this is one of my favorite comic books. And I'm like, well, sure, because you don't read them.
Because you've read
any of them.
2 of them, maybe.
This is the only one I've read.
Yeah,
and I like it.
It's also one of my favorites. Maybe even my favorite.
And it's also my least favorite because it's the one thing I've ever read that's a comic book. Anyway, but Watchmen has had a storied history when it came to movie adaptations. Ultimately, when Terry Gilliam was like, you can't film it, it's unfilmable. Everyone was like, fair enough. And then Warner Brothers was like, okay, yeah, that's true, but...
Yeah, it is unfilmable. I agree with that assessment.
Now, that being said, let's give it to the guy who made Dawn of the Dead.
Well, I think let's give it to the guy who made 300.
That's exactly right. and in fact, 300... Which everyone likes, so... I like 300.
Yeah.
And if you've ever read the comic, you've seen 300. If you've ever seen the movie, you've read the comic.
Right.
There's a couple of things in there. I mean, the Goat Man is in the movie, is in the comic. Sword Arms is in the comic.
Yeah.
He's only in it for like a panel.
Right.
He's not... Sword Arms gets more screen time than he gets panel space.
Yeah, it's disproportionate amount of screen time.
Yeah, it's weird. You think like, wait, what? Why are there sword arm people? Doesn't, yeah. Miller only wanted
that's awesome.
Yeah, Miller just wanted to draw that for a second. But, yeah, then they made Watchmen, which was the first kind of like big change, I think, for Watchmen. Because it was like, let's change the ending.
Yeah. Which, like, yeah, of course, you were going to change that ending.
Yeah.
Like...
But was that the like, well, all bets are off, it's all over for you or for anyone?
Oh.
Like when they made the movie, when they made the first adaptation of Watchmen.
You know, would I have predicted at that moment that they were going to do like the prequels and then a show?
No, just like,
no, I thought it was over.
Was that terrible?
No.
Does that hurt the comic?
It doesn't hurt the comic. In the sense that, like, there are now people who probably that is the only version of Watchmen they've ever seen, and they have an opinion of Watchmen based on that movie, having no idea what the comic is. True. Like, that is sad.
Yeah.
To me, that thought is sad.
Right.
If I had in a perfect universe, nobody could watch the movie without also reading the comic.
Yes. Well, and the fact is, like, the people who watch the movie who don't read the comic, we're never going to read the comic in the first place.
True. So, absolutely true.
So, like, as such, maybe that means that, like, that's nice, because at least they got some Watchmen.
I guess.
Although, you know they got Zack Snyder's interpretation of Watchmen.
Yes. I mean, having seen that movie, I like that movie.
I like it, too. I dug the movie.
I think it's very different than the comic, even though it covers it, like, beat for beat. Like, the tone is very different.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah. There were a couple of things in there where I'm like... You know, you clearly wanted to do something that, like, you took the material seriously, but then also wanted to do, like, something else. Like, why is Nixon such a clown? Like, he might as well go "Arroo" in that movie. Like, and that's just one nitpick. The slow motion fight scenes, the fact that, like, I think that Zack Snyder thinks that Dan is a superhero. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
they definitely upped the kinetic actioniness of
this sleepy deconstruction of superhero genre,
where particularly Night Owl to rescuing the people from the fire, like that is kicked up to 100. The rescue of Rorschach, it's kicked up to 1,000. I'm like,
it's a movie, like, it has to be, I guess. Also, with Watchmen, it was like editors, Moore, Gibbons. These are the people involved in making that book, right? With the movie, it's Snyder, the like script adaptation, the producers, of which there are like 5. You know, like, there's a gazillion opinions they're lucky you got what you got, based on so many opinions, all of whom think they're the most creative people in the room.
Right.
So,
I think that probably they're like, you gotta get some cool action in there.
Totally.
And so, given that constraint, they did something interesting with it, I think. And for me, the clue was the costume for Ozymandias, and for Night Owl as well.
All of them look like Batman movie
It's just
costume.
the Schumacher Batman. I'm like,
the fact that Ozymandias has nipples.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it's like a joke.
Right.
At least it's a joke. Yes. You know, at least you're doing like a little parody kind of thing with it.
You're shining the light on yourself as well as this.
So if you got to get this like ultra violent action stuff in there, like, okay, at least you're saying something about it.
Yeah.
It's not just straightforward.
Right. Agreed.
So I appreciate that aspect of it.
True. So okay, then we cut to before Watchmen. Now there's a prequel. Now, I think that is the biggest affront to Watchmen because it informs the material. The movie was an adaptation. You could literally go like,
it's a whole separate thing.
So that's the movie. It looks like the comic, but it's not the comic. It doesn't try to say.
It doesn't affect the comic.
You know what's funny? The Gilliam version actually would have messed it up a little more because, like, if the movie had ended where like and then they become the comic book. That's like saying that that's the real life. What you're reading is the end of the Watchmen movie.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah,
no,
that would be terrible idea.
I agree. But
they didn't do that.
But before Watchmen is
it's actually part of the history now of that book.
Like the reason why there are like letters and articles and other snippets of information that are in the book, the original Watchmen tome, I think, and is because that's the maximum amount of information that the creators want you to have about those characters. No more, no less. And to allow you to interpret as such based on the available information.
Right.
To then give you like a backstory on Laurie, or like give you a story about like, what was it like to watch Rorschach and Night Owl kick ass and take names? Like, no!
Yeah. To me, that ruins one of the best parts of Watchmen.
What is that?
Is the world building in Watchmen.
Right.
It's like you said, it's just the right amount.
That's right.
And I don't necessarily think that when they were creating those elements that it was part of like a great plan where it's like, we're gonna put just enough information. I think it was just like, let's put some stuff in.
Sure, yeah, but only the stuff they felt was a necessary component to the narrative.
They didn't think it was necessary to have a lot more. I don't know that necessarily a whole lot of thought went into it other than the outlines of what the history would have been.
Sure.
But that's like perfect because it allows the reader to build in their imagination
fill in the rest of the gaps.
Yeah, I have an impression of how we got from the original set of heroes in the Watchmen universe to the present day status quo as told in Watchmen. Right. I don't have it all mapped out in my head, and I don't want it to be. No. I have a feeling about it and some rough thoughts about it, and to me it's really cool and interesting. And if you start saying, well, this is what actually happened, it can only detract.
Exactly. Well, because it robs you of your authenticity, your authority over the work.
Yes,
you're
exactly.
no longer the author.
Yeah.
Or of your own interpretation.
Yeah.
So, I agree. Before Watchmen damages Watchmen.
Yeah.
Regardless of how good it is.
Yeah.
Like Darwin.
Right.
Darwin Cook wrote the I think the least damaging one is Darwin Cook did the Minutemen book, where he's like, these are the adventures of the Minutemen.
Yeah, and people say that's like the good one.
The good one. Yeah. But even then, it's still like, what's in there is like the comedian and his relationship with Silk Spectre, and you're like, oh no, I only need to know this much, and then be able to interpret it. But like, because of that, it gives you that. But at least they picked the best people for the job. But it was a job to still shovel shit.
Right.
So it's like, how glamorous could it possibly be? and that sucks.
Yeah. It's still someone else's vision of
what you were left to interpret.
Yeah, and of what the original creator. If I was gonna consent to any prequel, it would be written by Alan Moore. Right? That's the only one that I could possibly accept, and I might even say then,
Devil's Advocate,
still don't do it.
Well, I would say never do it. Because Devil's Advocate, Dark Knight Returns is one of my favorite comic books of all time.
Yeah.
Well, let's get the original creator to come back 20 years later and do a sequel. Oh, no. He doesn't even, he's not even ruining it. He's also misinterpreting the message he left in the last book.
But Devil's Advocate to that, he did year one, which is good.
Right, but he did that around the same exact time.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, Alan Moore writing a prequel to Watchmen, like, today? No, that's stupid.
I would love to read it. But I also think it would hurt.
But in the 80s? In the late 80s, early 90s, I could have accepted
but then, it's funny because...
in the
late 80s, early 90s, if they begged him, come back, he would have done it as a spite writing. And, he was right. He was helping to write,
given the way history unfolded.
He'd been like, oh, yeah, I could do that. No problem. Right after I finish the next issue of Youngblood for the competition, I'll be happy to fucking write your sequel to Watchmen. Like, it would be like hate. It would be like hate fucking. Like, reading this book like, no!
The only way to get a prequel I would have actually liked would have been for history to have been entirely different.
And he wrote it.
Falling out to not occur.
Right. Or if Alan Moore had written, like Tolkien, he had all these things, and then he died, and DC,
found the
pages and then published them. And even then, no.
Yeah. I still would be like, I don't know if I want that.
Right, well,
what if it sucks?
Yeah, I hope it doesn't suck. Like any of the works after Tolkien.
I like the Silmarillion.
The Silmarillion
I think he wrote that. I can't remember which ones were like Frankenstein together by his son. And
Silmarillion is basically the Bible. I'm not looking for a narrative, like satisfying tale.
Right.
You know, I'm getting history. I'm getting annexes and appendices.
Right. I haven't read the Lost Tales or whatever.
Neither have I.
Yeah, I don't.
And
know.
I never will.
They're probably terrible.
No, I can't even imagine. So, before Watchmen, you know, blah. This thing, and it came out like a lion and went out like a lamb.
Yeah.
It came out. Everyone's like, right, oh, should you do this? Oh, blah, blah. And then it came out, and everyone was like,
yeah,
like, what's next?
Yeah.
What do you mean, what's next? You should have seen, like, people were crying in like the meeting about whether we should do it or not. Like, can you imagine? Like Jeff Johnson's like, you shouldn't do it. Like, no. And then the community at large collectively went, meh. You know, like, oh, Brian Azzarello wrote the freaking comedian book. Yeah, I can imagine. I could probably write that in my own head. Mm-hmm. No, yep, it's gross.
Yeah,
fair enough. Like,
let me guess, it's deeply uncomfortable.
yeah. Let me guess, the condemnation of the entire genre. Mm-hmm. Oh, look at that. Like, cool, okay.
Yeah.
You know, but like, dude, but why?
Right.
But why? So moving on to
actually, you look at the timeline. So 2009 movie. Mm-hmm. That's when they woke up and decided we're going to make money on Watchmen.
Screw it. That's when the culture at large went, nah, fuck it. All right.
Well, that's when DC was like, fuck Alan Moore.
If you interpret it as like a conversation, Alan Moore's like, yeah, get fucked. Walked out the door, slam. DC is a company.
For 20 years, it's like,
fuck you! I don't need your ass! We have Batman, bitch!
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, so the dam broke. So then 3 years later...
Yep, 3 years later, before Watchmen. And it wasn't like, okay, so we're gonna do like like one book. No. It was Minutemen, and Silk Spectre, and Night Owl, and Rorschach, and Comedian, like
dump
and
these
Dr. Manhattan, and Ozymandias. Every character had a book.
Yep.
And the team that you don't see is also as their own book.
Yeah. Which, like, what was the idea? I remember thinking when I first heard about that, I was like, oh, so they're gonna do like one, and then they're gonna do the next, and the next is gonna stretch out for like years.
No, all of them at once. Meh.
Here,
that's what DC does.
That's weird.
When the
That's
new 52 happened, they're like, here's 52 new fucking titles. All of them $4. Are you crazy?
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna bombard you with titles.
Yeah.
Is that a good strategy?
You know, that's never a good strategy. It's never worked. Ever. Hey, here's 17 choices. How about no choice? Whoa, but I gave you 17.
You know what that tells me? That tells me that they didn't have confidence in the idea. So they were like, if we stretch it out, within the first 3 months, people are going to be like, this sucks. And then we're never going to be able to sell anymore.
Yeah.
But if we dump them all at once, some people will buy all of them.
That's exactly
before the scuttlebutt is a big collective meh.
Yeah. Right.
That's, to me, suggests lack of confidence in the idea. In which case, don't do it.
Yeah. I feel like maybe it wasn't just, screw you. Maybe it was actually more like, we should make a sequel, like right now. And someone at some level was like, I don't know about that. And just for years, they were like, no, but we should though. Don't you think we should? And enough people, and there's everyone who said no just kept retiring or needing money. And so like eventually they were just like, hey, we should make a sequel. And they're like, yeah. Wait, yeah? All right, let's do it.
We're doing this?
Oh shit, it's happening. Call up everyone that's good that we have a phone number for. Which, like, at least they did that. Yeah. At least they weren't like, "Hey, Scott Lobdell, here's Ozymandias."
Yeah.
Like, oh no. But
I wonder how many people said no.
Right?
Who did they call? Who was like, I don't want to touch that.
I would love to see that list.
Yeah.
Of like who.
You're never gonna see that list.
I bet.
You'd only get it individually from each person.
I know who said no. You know why? Because like they're not in the book. Like Grant Morrison said no. There's no way that they didn't ask Grant Morrison. Like, you know? I mean, he's their architect.
If they wanted to say, fuck you to Alan Moore, they should have pulled out all the stops to get him on board.
They should have offered him, like, the Alan Moore number. Okay, Alan, what price will you pay? Do we have to pay for you to come back and write a sequel? $10 million. All right, Grant Morrison want to give you $11 million. Yeah, that would make... Yeah. If they really, that shows they didn't really, that it was not a spiteful act. Because they didn't get at Grant Morrison. Radical Radish says, Ethan should be in more things, that's all.
That is all.
That is fair. Rusky says, is any Watchmen follow-up doomed to fail? And if so, why? I think so because a mix of Watchmen being a product of its time and Moore's unique vision. I think you got a point there, but also, like, Watchmen isn't doomed to fail. Well, the movie did fail, and also so did the prequels, and also the sequel isn't doing well because of other factors. But it's also celebrated and hailed, and people like it.
It's going to be hard to tell with the HBO show, right? Because you're not going to get like ratings numbers.
Yeah, critically, it's successful.
Yeah, critically, it's definitely successful. It's clearly the most successful critically of the three.
Yeah.
Is that a success? I don't know. I don't think it's doomed to fail if we're talking about financially. I think there's always a way to make money on stuff if you do it
creatively
well enough.
They all fail because they don't honor the work. Although, if you're talking about a TV show or a movie, they're separate entities. Although the TV show is a sequel to Watchmen, a deliberate, literal follow-up to Watchmen.
Yeah. If the question is, is everything going to fail in as much as it won't be as good in its time as the original was in its time?
Right.
I think, yes, probably, because, like you said, it is a product of its time. It has the most impact if you're in the time in which it is written.
Right. Now, timeless works do have the ability to reach its audience, but, like, the themes and ideas that it's tackling are distinctly 1986.
Yeah.
And, while you can understand it, you can't quite put yourself there.
Yeah, emotionally, I feel like it's a very different experience, not
I wouldn't know
in the Cold War or having the memory of the Cold War be that fresh. And I think the farther you get from it,
the less the impact.
Yeah. So there are like universal aspects of it, just like there's universal aspects of like Shakespeare. But I think Shakespeare's kind of the same way, where if you were alive in that time, probably you'd get more out of that than anyone could today.
I've taught Shakespeare, and I will tell you that like part of the better understanding of Shakespeare, like, it's easy to say it's timeless. Look at them making references to people who were in power during that time. Don't you relate? You need to get through that, and you need to contextualize it to be like, this is funny because of this. Like, here's what they're referencing. It's like watching an old movie. It's like here, and if you give them the context, then they can understand, appreciate it better. It's like The Simpsons. You're watching Simpsons from 20 years ago, and you're like, who are they making fun of? Why do they make fun of the Chevy Chase at a show? Who is Chevy Chase? Like, you need the context, the cultural understanding of that.
Yeah, to get the full like value out of it.
Yeah. Robbie Miller says Kubrick should have directed a Watchmen adaptation. I think Kubrick would have never done that.
No.
Kubrick strikes me as the kind of guy who would say something like, comic books or for losers. Like, I don't know if that's true, and forgive me.
No, maybe he loves them. Who knows? But
he did. So he
well, yeah.
I'll tell you this.
He loved them.
I'll bet he doesn't love the sequel to The Shining that's coming out, starring Ewan McGregor and like CG versions of the things that he used in his movie. Like, I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure Kubrick would not have appreciated seeing The Shining pop up in Ready Player One.
Yeah, probably
I
not.
didn't. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Was it interesting?
Yeah, but The Shining was based on a book, so.
And King hates the movie.
Well, there you go.
But what's funny about that though?
But
is that Kubrick is a brilliant filmmaker, and King can't end his stories well. Like, between the two of them.
All right, we're not talking about Stephen King here. I just meant Kubrick made something based on a book. Maybe he wouldn't have any problem making something based on a graphic novel.
Yeah, he does not shy away from adaptations. Yeah. So maybe Watchmen. I think if he was ever going to do an adaptation, Watchmen would have been the one to sway him. That's fair, Rob.
Yeah. We'll never know.
We will never know. Danny Blackson TV says 5 different services to watch everything. I hate it.
Yeah,
me too.
We hate it.
Yeah, we hate it too.
We've talked about it before.
Yeah, we did. There's a whole episode where we talk about that. The death of media. Mr. Roboto says, who in ComicPOP would have been the Sheldon Cooper? Keenan. Eddie Eckenberg says, sad I can't say. I feel Doomsday Clock would have been something truly special, but its impact was ruined. In Moore's defense, name a good adaptation of Moore's work, except Man Who Has Everything. The Man Who Has Everything, the episode... Was it? Yeah, for The Man Who Has Everything, the Superman story.
Yeah.
J.M. DeMatteis did a episode of the Just League cartoon that is a adaptation of that book in like a 22-minute cartoon.
Yeah.
And it's really great. It's perfect. And actually, when I talked to DeMatteis on this show, I was like, I hear Moore likes that. And he was like... Because he doesn't Google himself, but I like looked it up and I saw that like apparently, like reportedly, not on record, there are 2 adaptations of his works that he likes. One is the Watchmen animated series,
I was just gonna bring that up,
Flash animation cartoon, and the other one is the Justice League Unlimited episode for The Man Who's Everything.
That's fun. I hope that's true.
Right. But but like we said, like I dig the Watchmen movie. I think it's fine. I'm not like, I don't love it, but I also was like, no, look at that.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
That's a movie I enjoy watching it. And I've watched it, I want to say like 3 times ever, and I would watch again. So to me, I feel like that's a good movie.
Yeah, they're right.
It doesn't hold a candle to the original work. So in that sense, I guess you could say it's not good.
No, and while...
But there's almost nothing that does, ever.
That's right. And when you're reading Watchmen, like, you find new things and you interpret new... Like, you find some new meaning.
Oh, yeah.
With the movie, you're just watching the movie.
Yeah, the book is, like, this dense, like, tome. The movie's just... It's just a movie.
It's just the stuff in the pages that's put on the screen.
Yeah, it's like a surface-level kind of reflection that has a couple kind of cool things going on in it. Which is all I expect from most movies.
Yeah, I'm not asking them for
I grade movies on a very different scale. You know, than I do books. And it's really hard to like reach that like level of like quality and sophistication that you get in the graphic novel of Watchmen in a movie. There's not a lot of movies that do that. And Zack Snyder's certainly not making any of them.
No. Agreed.
Yeah, people. I never read V for Vendetta. People like that movie, though.
I like the movie better than the comic.
There you go.
And that's probably everyone's like, whoa, phony. But it's like, hey, read it. It's V isn't a character. He's like a plot device / like engine of the story. The story isn't really even like linear. Like it's all over the place. And no one is sympathetic, which like there's I've read plenty of books like that, not just comic, but also books. Like most novels I've read have wholly unsympathetic protagonists. But V isn't the protagonist, which is like fine. But when you read like, or when you watch V for Vendetta, you're like, oh, like they did something with it. Like that's the other thing is that it was transformative, which you hear all the time on YouTube. Here's
a question. This is super off topic. It's a tangent from what you just said.
Yeah.
What do you blame for the unsympathetic protagonist?
In American literature or in literature? Because the unsympathetic protagonist is pervasive in British literature because the English hate themselves and are bored.
Has that always been the case? Okay?
No. I mean, like, well, look at like Christopher Robin or I mean, like they everyone Peter Pan. Oh, isn't Peter Pan American?
I have no idea.
I think he's American.
I think he is. Yeah,
because of course he is.
Right.
But anyway, the reason why I think that the unsympathetic protagonist is a thing is reflective of the culture. It's why it's why Russian literature is so freaking depressing, and why like American literature is so hopeful and hypocritical. Like it, for the most part, when it came to the books that I taught, it was either a reflection, like the books that were written in American literature. It's why, like, I think, and this is something I was going to bring up earlier, not on the show. It's why I think American culture loves superheroes so much, and why our other, like, and it's because our folk heroes are totally lame and stupid.
You mean like Paul Bunyan
and Johnny Appleseed? Yeah, I think that like here are our, because I mean, like the English have freaking King Arthur, who is also, by the way, it's like, you know why British literature is so depressing? King Arthur's he's an asshole and a racist, like, and not even a racist against like people of different ethnicities, just different, like, oh, I don't like the Saxtons, like, fuck you. But with American literature, it's like, well, this big dumb guy with an axe has a big dumb blue fucking animal. Like, what? Like,
this guy plants trees.
And also our country's so young that, like, Johnny Appleseed was a real person. And those apples were crab apples. Like, they weren't even delicious, tasty apples.
You know way more about Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah, I know. Because when I criticized it, when I used it in my lessons, I was like Johnny Appleseed. I didn't want somebody like, actually Johnny Appleseed was a.
So you looked up Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, let's take a look.
I gotta know
his
about
apples
this guy.
sucked, and he was a freaking real guy, and he didn't really do anything. In fact, his apples were more of an invasive species, and he went up hurting the ecology a little bit. So it's like, which also is decidedly American, where it's like, hey, let's celebrate our heroes. Actually, they were monsters. Like, hey, let's celebrate Christopher Columbus Day. Like, God damn it. And I'm Italian. But like, hey, listen, American folk heroes, boring. Then Stanley comes along and he's like, you could be a superhero. You could save. You are selfless. You are like strong. You don't believe you deserve your power, and like that's awesome. And also, you have a dope outfit. Like, I think that's certainly why American cinemas embraced like superhero movies.
Yeah.
And why like they expect them. Like even before the Marvel invasion.
Yeah.
Like they were like, when's the next Batman movie? When's the next superhero movie?
Yeah.
Batman's also like a wish fulfillment kind of thing where it's like, I would love to be selfless and awesome and powerful and strong and help people and rich.
And rich on top. Yeah.
And I'm kind of damaged. I'm a little dark. I'm a little dark, but sexy dark.
I embrace the darkness.
I embrace the darkness enough
within
to get
myself.
Hot blondes to go out with me. Like, I mean, like, I think, but so, yeah, I think that, but in American literature, literally, it's either like dopey idiot protagonists or racism is bad.
Nah.
Like, that's literally every book that I read as a kid when I was a student, and every book that I was told to teach when I was a teacher. And I'm like, ugh!
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, can we get comic books in this curriculum? And they're like, absolutely not. That's not literature.
We get something that doesn't...
Now read the Scarlet Letter again.
To read.
I'm like, God damn it. By the way, I had a blast teaching the Scarlet Letter.
Yeah.
You had a fantastic time.
That's cool.
I made that book fun. But it ain't fun to read.
I like some of American
folklore
literature. Not that I've read a ton of it, but I've read the big ones in school.
Yeah.
But I remember...
The Natural.
I never read The Natural.
Like baseball.
I read The Great Gatsby.
Oh, The Great Gatsby. Yeah, no one is a protagonist. Who's the protagonist? Nick? No.
He's the narrator.
Yeah, he's the narrator. But, like, it ain't about Nick.
No.
You know?
And there's no one likable in that book.
No.
But I do enjoy
idiot.
it.
Yeah, I like reading it too.
Weirdly.
But, like, here's the thing. It's about, like, context. You need to know about what it was like in the 20s. You can read The Great Gatsby and be like, boring.
Yeah.
But if you know about what life was like in the 20s, like, I just saw a picture the other day, yesterday. It was awesome. It was a picture of a guy in a 3-piece, beautiful, brand new suit, standing next to his Rolls Royce with a cardboard sign that says $100. Because he lost everything in the stock market.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, he was here and then $100, the equivalent of basically like $1,800.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, he needed rent and food. Like, that's the kind of context you need for reading things like Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Or
it's a different world.
Or Neil Simon. Yeah. He's a playwright. Plays are a different thing, too. No one's happy in plays.
Yeah. Not the good ones.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you're reading a play where everything works out fine, and then then you're watching the wrong play. Then you're seeing Cats, I guess. Except Cats is by Tennessee Williams, and even Cats, they all die. I guess.
I never saw Cats.
I only read the wiki about Cats. I was like, all right.
Wait, in all those years that you saw the advertisements for Cats at the Winter Garden Theater, you
now
never
and
actually
forever.
went?
Call Telecharged. 212-839-6200. No. No, I was like, I thought they were space cats. I thought they were from space. That they were aliens.
Oh, because they were like human sized?
Yeah, because they were human sized, and when they fucking take off at the end of the
acting.
No, they're I know, but like I didn't think they were real.
You're
space
zoomed
cats.
in.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, exactly. That's why everything's so big. I really thought that like they were space cats, and they were like going back to the mothership.
Yeah, well, because you can't in the
trailer,
commercials.
what the hell?
They're on a platform with lights, and it's going. Oh, it's a spaceship.
Yeah, nope. They're going to die.
Yeah. Spoilers for Cats. Some of them
enjoy
die.
the movie. I'm sure you'll like it. But anyway, Mr. Abato has said his thing, I think. Oh, of all potential Watchmen sequels, access to alternate universes. How many Watchmen sequels do you watch at... Oh, how many Watchmen sequels do you watch? All, some, or none? I mean, like, the fact is you can read all of them. It's just more like, it's really about you, like, about your interpretation. Like, if you love Watchmen, no one is putting a gun to your head and telling you got to watch the show. I haven't. He isn't either.
No.
And we both have HBO.
Yeah. I might watch some of it at some point.
Yeah.
It's on my list of, like, I might check that out.
There are too many freaking shows.
There's too
many. And I love Watchmen, so I don't really need a sequel.
Right.
But there's also, we didn't even get a chance to talk about this, Doomsday Clock, which is a straight up, not only just... I mean, one thing if John's like, I could do a sequel to Watchmen, but it's another for him to go, I could do a sequel to Watchmen, and also put Batman in it. And it's like, oh, wait, but no!
Yeah. No, literally, Doomsday Clock is DC being like, hey, Watchmen, we own that, don't we?
Yeah.
Why? And we have this whole huge universe, this multiverse of stuff that we are always mixing and matching. And why has Watchmen never been part of that?
The fact is we've been playing Just a Tip with Watchmen forever. Like, or Earth 2 and all, and the Crime Syndicate and stuff, please. We've been like just one just wink and a nod away from comedian just showing up and being an antagonist in the DC universe. Why don't we just go full tilt? Why don't we just do that?
Look, we already did friggin'
before Watchmen.
No, with all the planets, the pieces of planets.
Oh, Convergence?
Convergence. We already did Convergence. We already brought friggin' every like
Kingdom Come Superman.
Every good high quality product that we've produced.
We've already turned into a dumbass slap fight like cash grab in a poorly written crappy thing. That reestablished Arak into the main DC continuity. Lucky us.
Right. So like, what are we standing on ceremony for?
Right.
What are we acting like we're better than that?
Or we're pretending we have integrity.
Yeah.
Like they all know the internet's here. Our creators are tweeting, you know, and people are leaking stuff. Yeah. I heard, this is going back years. I had heard from an anonymous source that the plan after Justice League versus Suicide Squad, the plan was the book was going to be called Justice League versus Watchmen. That was the plan. And it's like, wow, what a horrible idea.
Jesus.
Not just a horrible idea, but like, what?
How would that... I don't understand how this even mechanically works. And I don't want you to get into it because we're going to
talk about it, but yeah.
But the way Watchmen ends, there's no team. The Watchmen... They're not teaming up.
The team... The collection of Rorschach... And Night Owl and like Dr. Manhattan and they're not called the Watchmen. They are in that hilarious cartoon, which you should go look at online.
If you haven't seen it, you have to go watch it now.
It's the one interpretation of Watchmen that Moore has signed off on entirely.
Yeah.
It's a Saturday morning cartoon interpretation of what like corporate suits from the 80s would have made Watchmen into. Every shot is a bastardization and hilarious script flipping of like the true theme of like Rorschach's playing with animals with the German Shepherds. Like because you see when I flipped through it I saw Rorschach was with a dog.
There was a dog and Rorschach in the same like context. He must like animals.
He must like animals.
Or maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but I could justify it based on that.
Listen, who gives a shit? We're getting our P's and Q's from an action figure company, like you know. But like, how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, there is no team. This is the thing. Like, Justice League versus the Watchmen. Like, there is no Watchmen. Well, they're not a thing.
That doesn't exist. Like, Justice League versus Watchmen.
But what would it have been?
Oh, it would have. I think it would have been a dumber version of Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
Because Doomsday Clock there is no team. They're not like, okay! It's literally like, people are tricked and like go places. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, it makes sense. Especially if you
it's crossing over the universe of the Watchmen.
It's establishing that the Watchmen universe is technically part of the multiverse from DC, which also sucks because that means there's like a cowboy version of the Watchmen universe. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like there's it's like there's one Earth that's Watchmen, and then that's it. Like no. Like, there's got to be like everyone's a vampire.
Right.
You know,
there's one where the Nazis took over.
Right. There's a gangster Watchmen universe.
Which is weird because Watchmen already is an alternate history of Earth.
Well, they all are. I mean, like, you know. The DC multiverse is the conceit is that Batman exists in all of those universes, so, and not to mention the dark multiverse. See, that'd be a fun twist, is it? Because you know, we haven't talked about the dark multiverse.
No.
You know, in Stranger Things, when like Will takes the map of, or whoever takes the map of like the world and then flips it over and talks about the underside, it's literally how they establish there's a dark multiverse. They take Grant Morrison's dumb map of the multiverse and they go, but. And they flip it over, and there's an evil inverse of the entire multiverse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do they just strip or straight up rip off
Stranger Things?
Yep.
Just unabashedly just take that. They're like, that's mine. That's fun. That being said, like,
well, now some of the comics are gonna be like, yeah, but Stranger Things just ripped off like blah 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 other thing, which I'm sure is true.
Right.
So in the great tradition of ripping off other people's stuff, I guess it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I guess then everything's okay. Right? Since it happened.
It already was.
Or nothing's okay. You know?
Yeah.
Whatever you want it to be. But yeah. But anyway, so yeah, well, but that would be the fun twist is that like there's always all dark Earths where like everyone's bad decision results in the twisted evil version of their planet.
Sure.
And also Watchmen's there. Because like why not?
Yeah.
Really the one place where everyone's happy because like it worked. Because Ozymandias' plan works. Of course, Doomsday Clock, the conceit is it didn't work.
It didn't work.
Well, it worked for a while.
Yeah. But then someone found Rorschach's journal or whatever.
And then Donald Trump becomes president.
Oh, of course.
In the book. I'm like, and it's not even like, it's dark, I don't know. It's Ronald Gump. Yeah. Nope. Not even trying.
No. Okay.
But, yeah. So, Doomsday Clock is a thing that, and the thing that's weird about Doomsday Clock is that it is an achievement. Like, it's critically
well regarded.
Accepted.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was like, no. And then they're like, no, trust me. And when it came out, it was like, this is admittedly high quality, high caliber care. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there's only like 2 people involved. Before Watchmen, all these different people, all these different ideas. Even if it was like from one person,
right?
Like from one person's brainchild. I don't know if that's true or not. But when it came to Doomsday Clock, it's like Jeff Johns like, I have this idea and I'm writing it at the end. And I'm going to get Gary Frank and he's going to draw it, no other artist, just Gary Frank. And it's like 3 years. And Gary Frank said, by the way, somebody asked a super chat. No, I guess I should get to it.
Yeah.
In which they said, which finishes first, the HBO show or Doomsday Clock? Because Doomsday Clock Doomsday Clock #1 came out shortly after New York Comic Con 2 years ago.
I rember all the hype about it.
I have 2 posters that they gave us. They were like, trust me.
Now, there's a question here. What do you mean the show? I guess when they make the last season
episode
of the show, when they cancel the show or whatever? Because
the answer is the Doomsday Clock will finish first because literally like 2 days ago, Gary Frank tweeted, all the pages are done. We're done.
So that's it.
It will be out probably by the end of December. Like unless Watchmen is a horribly commercial failure,
right?
Like in terms of the show,
and they don't do anymore,
and they're just like no, and they cancel it the way that like no show is canceled anymore.
Right?
They're like 3 episodes, no, then it's over.
Is the Watchmen show? Is it coming out like weekly?
I think
or
so.
Is it all dropped at once?
No,
like the Netflix style?
It's weekly.
All right.
Yeah. But Doomsday Clock, oddly enough, somehow manages to like escape the ire. What is that? Like, why? Like, how did Watchmen get away with it? And it's like,
maybe because
how come before Watchmen didn't get the same treatment?
Maybe because it doesn't change the story of Watchmen like the prequels do.
That's exactly right. I think that's exactly right. Because a sequel to Watchmen is like a sequel to anything.
Yeah.
Like, no. You can literally do it again. You could do a sequel to Watchmen tomorrow.
Yeah.
And be like, no, Doomsday Clock didn't count.
Yeah.
Because they did the same. Alien, Predator, Terminator, all those, any movie.
Right.
Batman.
Yeah, it's easier to pretend
discount.
it never happened.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's in the future of the thing that I like,
right.
And the future hasn't been written yet. It's whatever we make.
Exactly. Very nice, Doc Brown. Adam Fenhaw, or House, says, keep them lights on. I will.
Keep them lights on. We will keep those lights on.
Yeah. Well, that will go a long way towards keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
Because I saw our rent bill on the desk of the landlord on my way back from the bathroom a few minutes ago. Noah Koo says, super chatting for Ethan. Love that guy. Yeah, he's pretty great.
Thanks.
But, yeah, so I guess that's right. It's just that Doomsday Clock succeeds where before Watchmen failed because it doesn't presume to tell you what really happened with Watchmen.
Right.
I mean, even though it does,
well, it tells you
that like the plan doesn't work and that they have to go to the DC universe.
Well, it tells you what's going to happen. But you can just say like, nah.
Yeah, but exactly.
Because like nothing Watchmen matters in the DC universe anyway. Because they change it every friggin' like 5 years. So
and it's actually brilliantly written and explained because like the character. He's like, everyone's got these dumb new costumes from the New 52, and like even after Rebirth, they were like, yeah, but like we still never had a crisis that said New 52 didn't happen. So like technically all the bullshit and all the old stuff happened all at once.
Right.
Because we never really cleaned house. So whatever. So with Johns, he was like, nah, everyone's wearing the costumes from pre-New 52. Like it's all the stuff that you like from then.
Yeah.
And also new characters that we invented post New 52. That like presuming that Doomsday Clock was going to be like a reboot that was going to fix everything.
Well, yeah, because you're involving Dr. Manhattan. I thought that was kind of the point. It's like
that's
he
exactly
could just wave his hand and change everything.
Well, and in Doomsday Clock, they establish a new interpretation of the DC universe itself, which is awesome. Everyone again.
Maybe that's what people like. It's like the way it interacts with the DC universe.
Yeah, it's more like Watchmen is a device that they use. It's not so much that like they were like, let's make a sequel to Watchmen because I need to know what happened to friggin' whatever, like to Laurie.
Yeah.
Or Dan.
Yeah. Did those two crazy kids ever get married or what?
Did Dan ever get it up? I don't know. Let's find out. But like,
he did in the book.
I know. Yeah.
In the ship.
Yeah.
Or it's at least implied by the artwork.
But instead of that, it does that too. But it also it's used as an instrument to fix the DC universe, which is kind of like meta in and of itself. So it's like, you know why? It's because there's a thought behind it that isn't just like beautiful money. So I think that's what it is.
Okay.
But it doesn't, and because the sequel, I think we can say it doesn't hurt Watchmen.
Yeah.
It's just after.
Not in the same way, anyway.
No, certainly not.
The prequel does.
Pricey8040 says, a little late, but no sequel. Wouldn't mind seeing more Dr. Manhattan interacting. Yeah. Dr. Manhattan's a fun character, and him and
Fun,
yeah. It was a fun character to read about.
Yeah.
And in Doomsday Clock, it's interesting. And I go, oh.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's neat. And yeah, the whole thing is, Doomsday Clock has me fascinated. I'm just like, oh, this is cool.
Okay. So
then you have the show.
And then the show.
Which is also a sequel.
The show is it is a sequel.
To what? You know what I mean?
The book, I guess.
Right?
It as I understand it takes the events of the book as if they happened.
Yeah.
Although, yes, including the squid monster, including everything.
Right.
But it's like way later. Like it happened when it happened in the book.
In 86.
And this
and
is
then,
now.
Yeah.
Now. So it's now.
Everything's happening now is happening now.
Right. So it's been 30 years?
I guess.
35, whatever?
That's that would be the conceit.
So I guess that's kind of like perfect because it's enough distance from it that they can kind of do whatever they want.
And I think that's exactly what they're doing. That's how it feels. Like every trailer I saw for that show, I was like, is it even Watchmen? Like,
it's more like inspired by Watchmen.
It felt a lot like they were like, I've got this really like dark, crazy, revolutionary, like racially themed, like drama.
Yeah.
And I think it might be deemed too subversive, but if I attach the name Watchmen to it, now I can just go like, oh, it's a comic book. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Don't worry about all the themes and ideas we're putting forth.
Well, possibly. Now, again, haven't seen it. Only read about it. To me, it looks like they took the concept of who watches the Watchmen,
right,
and they like really ran like with that, which is interesting because that wasn't like a huge part of the book
at all.
The book is more like the aftermath of everyone saying like, "Well, who's watching the Watchmen?" and then like dealing with that. Yeah. This is more like no, but like really,
but no, who is what? Like well, and because it's addressing and shining a light on today's themes and talking about like everything.
So it could be someone saying like, well, that aspect of Watchmen is actually like pretty relevant to things being talked about within the last 5 years or so. Right. So like maybe now is the time.
Yeah.
Now that's given a lot of credit.
Yes. But I wouldn't.
It's a less cynical view than
then just like
then they just had
this other idea.
The Watchmen like aesthetic on top of it.
Yeah.
Which.
Well, because like, and I read on down to like we have masks and stuff, and they're like, what if you put Rorschach's ink blot on the masks? Like, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, because it works. It works whether it's Rorschach or not. That concept,
exactly,
of like, what if the police were masked? That obviously, you don't need Rorschach.
No,
to be part of it. He just kind of adds like his history and his ideology. Just kind of like adds a little bit to that.
Unless you actually like think about who Rorschach was.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's not a direct. Like it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, why
Rorschach? Well, and maybe because 30 years later...
Yeah, it's like a bastardization of it. It's kind of like the Sons of Batman. Like, they don't have the ideology of Batman.
No, he's a symbol that they can put a name to their violence.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's what they're doing with Watchmen. It's more like the inverse, where it's
like
they're taking his visual and throwing away all the stuff about his racism and his homophobia.
Yeah. Or are they?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's I haven't seen the show, but I've read that gets added in a little bit later.
Exactly.
So maybe it will tie better into Rorschach's ideology. Who's to say?
But again, because it is a sequel, because it is like an interpretation of the work that is taking it further away from it, like the movie, not as a sequel, but more like the movie.
Yeah.
It is allowed to then be like, it's not the book.
Right.
Like, it's not going to touch the book. Like, it's funny how the comics should damage the work because not only are they from the same, genre, the same media, but also the things that are written in the media that are aping off of Watchmen are in and of themselves, informing the original text. With the movies and shows, it's like, whatever. Well, you can ignore those.
Yeah, you can say it's a separate. It's a separate thing. It's not part of it.
Exactly. It's not an affront. It's not trying to be.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like before Watchmen, they're like, we're trying to take what you like and just sell it back to you.
Yeah. Just sell you more of that written by someone else.
And it feels like Doomsday Clock, because it has like a thing that he's trying to say, that he's more like, I'm unafraid to use Watchmen to tell this story. And that's kind of great.
It's like a narrative device.
Yeah, where he's like, well, and also like, if I want to be true to the ideology of Watchmen being this transformative work that is important, then I shouldn't be afraid to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you do still have Rorschach like fighting like superheroes and stuff, right?
But it's not that Rorschach.
Oh.
I'll give you that. No, it's not like Rorschach.
That's better.
It's not like Rorschach. Like it's not like Manhattan felt bad.
Yeah, just like,
and he's like, back to work. No. Like, well,
that would suck.
I wouldn't even give. I would be like, you'd hate it. I wouldn't even give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
If that was the case,
I'd be like, fuck you. Nope. I'd walk off the couch.
I guarantee you, there would be people. I guarantee you, there's fan art of that.
Yeah.
And they're like, please.
I can't think of a bigger fuck you to the original work than bringing Rorschach back to life.
Right.
Like, he has to die. The story's completely different if he doesn't die again.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Spoilers for Watchmen.
Right. Yeah, and then Rorschach goes and like Sally Jesse Raphael, and he tells everybody what would happen. They give him a shower, a makeover.
Yeah.
So Walter here is going to be talking all about the secret government, coup. But before we get to there, he's going to get a makeover.
Yeah.
He's going to get a diction coach. No, it wouldn't. Yeah, no, that's not what Doomsday Clock is. But
Good.
Comic Goblin says, I think the one thing that could hurt DC Doomsday Clock in the end is if it unfortunately doesn't affect much in the end in 2017. Felt like it would have had major effect.
Yeah, so it's taken so long.
Oh, absolutely. No,
will they not really be able to do what they wanted in terms of impact?
That's the thing, is that it is. Johns had something to say, and he wanted to do something with it, and it's implicit, it's inherent in the work. I don't want to say that if it doesn't result in a reboot or some kind of big thing at the end, that it wasn't worth it, because
you think it stands on its own.
I want it to stand on its own, but I also think it is important to be vital to the continuity.
Right, if it's not a big part of continuity, then it kind of takes something away from it.
It does. Well, and it's and what's the point? Why did you do this?
Yeah, why did we go through all that?
Right, why did we go through all that? It was when there's a couple moments in Doomsday Clock that reference, it's very apart from continuity. It's kind of you don't really know when it is. Yeah. And then they reference the Court of Owls and stuff, and you're like, no! You've just cemented it in time!
Well, the other thing is, I know when I first heard about it, when I was first reading about the thoughts on maybe fucking Manhattan makes the DC universe,
right,
or intrinsically affects it in some way, I was like, okay, at least you're making Watchmen super important to everything else, which almost justifies dragging its corpse up to animate and walk around with, Weekend at Bernie's.
Right.
If it's just oh no, we're not doing that, it's just we told the story that involves Watchmen, it's then why did you bring it up?
Exactly.
Why did you go nuclear?
And the frustrating part is, the reason they did is because it was going to be.
Right.
Because at the end of the day...
Yeah, and then if you fail to do that, that's just even more pathetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Then it's the most pathetic thing is that the book will be done probably by January. And because it was so freaking late, they were just we need to make money off it now. So a month ago or less, they put out the first 6 issues in a trade.
Oh.
Because
you could get a trade of part of...
Yeah, it's volume 1 of Doomsday Clock. A 12-issue series. Just because they were well, I need to start paying dividends now.
Yeah.
Which should tell you everything you need to know about its impact. Which is to say, there isn't going to be one.
Ugh.
The frustrating thing will be when it does drop and it does complete, and like, you know, you have creatives who work there and fans who read it who are like, this needs to be important, and the higher ups being like, it won't be though.
But it's not though.
And then
I've already moved on.
But I've already moved on.
I've already passed it.
Yeah. No, we moved on a year ago.
I cashed the check.
Yeah. No, you don't understand. 5G. 5G's coming out. We didn't need Doomsday Clock. We got 5G.
What the hell is that? Besides a friggin' cellular standard.
Yeah, but that's cool. That's like, it's getting, you know, the kids know about 5G. We're also going to be... So the guys who were responsible for ruining DC's like continuity are now rewriting the timeline, the official timeline for DC. They're like, we're going to clean it up. We're going to fix it. Our problem is we never had a roadmap, which I've always said. But the worst people to write that roadmap are the people who friggin' ruined it in the first place.
Right.
But they're doing this roadmap, and they're like, okay, we're going to go here, 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 and this will be the new continuity, or at least the new timeline. Which is the worst thing you could possibly do, is give DC a timeline where you have dates in it.
Yeah. Where like you can't fudge anymore.
Yeah.
Because fudging is intrinsically
important to a shared continuity of these stupid universes.
Yeah.
But you know, so
you're gonna make everyone who writes a book read the timeline.
I bet
before you write, you gotta read this. You gotta study this. There's gonna be a test on it.
Here's the thing. I think you should, because like if you're gonna write in a shared universe, you should at least know when the hell you're.
Yeah, but then they're not gonna be able to get like Neil Gaiman or whoever to like, because they're not gonna do that.
Oh no, he's just we'll make it. We'll work around you, or Grant.
You think Grant? Yeah, Grant's gonna be like,
no, he's gonna
Grant. You have to adhere to the. Yeah, no. Some of them will get special permission to not deal.
Yeah, anyone who made a movie or like has or immediately sells books just because their name's on the book.
Yeah,
they get to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So, oops. I guess we don't have any teeth.
Yeah, then it's not going to work.
But they're going to do this timeline, and basically they're dividing up the DC universe into like generations, where it's like there's a generation 1, G2, G3,
okay,
5G, or 1G, 2G, until we get to 5G, which is the next generation of superheroes for the DC universe. So like, you know,
so you're gonna do G's 1 through 4 like real quick?
No, we're just gonna explain those were G's. Like everything you read
happened.
Yeah, those already happened.
But now we shoehorn the past into these 4.
But now, like Lucius Fox's son or nephew or whatever is gonna be Batman for like 5G. You know, because like Black Batman, New York Times Black Batman.
Oh, so you're gonna stop writing regular Batman?
Yeah. He's going to retire or stop or whatever.
I mean, who are you kidding?
Well, excuse me. All right. We're closed doors. Yeah, of course we're not. What are you doing? Yeah, obviously he'll be back in like 6 months. But please. Or 2.
Right.
You know, if everyone stops buying it. But do you know how many shekels we'll make?
Right.
By selling Black Batman in the first like month?
Right.
Mr. Roboto says, could Watchmen be beyond like Batman?
I mean, it basically is, right? It's set 35 years in the future.
Yeah, the show is,
of the book, so
right?
It is. It's Watchmen Beyond.
Yeah, Watchmen Beyond. I don't know. I feel like no. I would hate to see that. I would hate to see like Rorschach with a camouflage trench coat that also shoots like jetpacks and he can fly around and stuff, or you know what I mean?
Well, it wouldn't be Rorschach. It would be like Night Owl 3.
Right, Night Owl 3.
And Night Owl 2 would be like, you know, they're helping him.
Silk Spectre could literally become like a ghost or something. Like, no, because that's not. The thing about Watchmen is they're not superheroes. They're not comic book characters.
Right.
They're characters in a story who also were costumed adventurers.
Yeah.
Like to talk about the legacy of these characters, the legacy is only attached to 2 characters in that universe.
Yeah.
Because they had a legacy, and that the legacy involved 2 generations.
Yeah.
So to assume that like, you know, Rorschach is a superhero, or that like, you know, Night Owl was like, you know, should have a lineage is I think a fallacy. It's a misunderstanding of Watchmen, because like they're not superheroes. Like if you're reading Watchmen and you're like and you're appreciating it for what it is, hopefully you don't want to see a sequel to Watchmen, or at the very least you don't want to like see action figures, which they made, not just of the movie, but of the Doomsday Clock characters. Like,
that's weird.
It's very weird. Like, yeah, look at Silk Spectre. Oh no, she's taking heroin. Like,
you know what works for me for a Watchmen like show or spin-off or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is the only thing that would work. And this is what I thought Watchmen the show might be when I was first reading like just the barest like little tiny bits about it.
Right.
And before I actually read something that was like, no, here's what it is. I thought it was going to be like a Twilight Zone kind of thing, where it's like Watchmen, and it's like vignettes that are inspired by Watchmen. Okay. So you get like a Rorschach thing, like the Rorschach police or whatever, and it's like about that, a story about that. And then over here we've got a story that's like taking imagery and concepts from this, but it's not in the universe of Watchmen. It's just like things that are inspired by the like themes and motifs in Watchmen. I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing images of
but then like,
things.
Oh, but no literally it is also the future of that book, and everything that happened in that book happened in that world.
Totally.
And I'm like, that makes more sense that you would do that, but I'm also less interested in that, and that's less valid to me as like a creative endeavor.
Right? Yeah.
I would be more interested if you were going to do something really cool and more risky. Yeah. Where it's like, no, we're leaving alone the original work. This is just like, what ifs.
Yeah. That'd be cool. You see, here's the thing. What if they did
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror.
Like it's HBO's Black Mirror.
Oh my God. Watchmen. I don't know if I like that.
I don't know if I do either, but I was like, that's bold.
But neat.
And that's like risky, and that could be super cool. Right. I don't even know what it would necessarily be, but like it's a vision where I'm like, you can talk me into that if you're smart.
You know what it is? It's just like we have the Watchmen license, we're gonna use it, but like Black Mirror is what if technology was bad? Yeah. And like Watchmen would be the Black Mirror, but like what if superheroes were real? Yeah, that's it. Right. And it's just like, and it's the dark interpretation of that. Yeah. But it's just and we're using the darkest one, you know?
Right. But the thing with Black Mirror is it's not all the same thing.
No, it's not all part of the same continuity.
Right. And that gives you like a sort of freedom to tell like some really off the wall stuff.
Yes.
Where
you go, I know what that looks like.
And it's just using like the word Watchmen and the things that you know from it as kind of like a hook to get you in, but it's not actually that. It's actually its own like creative like thing.
Right.
That would be cool.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd watch it, but I'd still.
I don't know if I'd watch it either, but I would feel a little better about it. Yeah. Because it wouldn't feel like it's taking something that someone else did that's brilliant and just continuing it.
Right. Because you have enough money to pay for the license.
Yeah, and because like you want money. Like I don't know.
Taylor Pesher says, to be honest, I see Johns going fully into movies and TV in the foreseeable future. I think Batman Earth 1 Volume 3 will probably be the last book he publishes.
Last big book he publishes.
I disagree. I think that he will still do those things, but also, if and when Batman Earth 1 Volume 3 ever comes out, because Gary Frank needed to draw that too, like it's taken forever and it will forever. I think you haven't seen the last of Jeff Johns, particularly in comics. I think you haven't seen the last of me. I'm glad. I like him. But I think, when he's done at DC, like when he's like, okay, everyone here hates me, or at the very least, I don't want to be here anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, he'll go to Marvel. He'll make some he'll make some money there. Or not. I mean, like, the fact is, he has positions of financial success and influence over movies because of his role at DC and because of his connections to Hollywood. So it's like he'd shoot himself in the foot to leave. And I think he is a comic book writer. Like I think he likes telling stories. So I wouldn't expect him to stop. Mm-hmm. You can't really stop a writer. Huh. Price8040 says, is it bad that I at least want a Manhattan statue? No. And I think...
you want a statue of a blue naked dude in your house. Like, right? That's cool.
Yeah, you're going to have to explain it. But, like, honestly, I mean, here's the thing. Even the action figures. Like, the conceit of an action figure is, in and of itself, problematically commercial. Mm-hmm. As is a statue. As is any collectible piece of merchandise.
Sure.
With an action figure, it's like it's a toy that is meant to be played with, and that is the joke. But... no child is buying the Doomsday Clock action figures.
No child should buy the Doomsday Clock action figures. Certainly no child should be interested in Watchmen until they're, above action figure playing with age, or at least at the upper edge of it.
Right. Or at the very least, like, before they just go like, ooh, superhero action figure.
Yeah.
But
it is a statue. In an ironic sense, I love Watchmen action figures. Yeah. Because, like, that shouldn't even exist.
Because Alan Moore would find that so repugnant. It'd be so funny to look at him. It'd be great to see him walk by a, like, child's playing pit and them having comedian figures.
Yes. I want to see the commercial for the Watchmen action figure toys because it's just like the cartoon show.
Yeah. Like, it's a misinterpretation of what's supposed to be.
With the hands and they're holding the thing and they're like, I'll get
like
you.
A G.I. Joe figure.
Yeah. Like, I want to see that commercial. That's, like, really funny to me. But that's like a joke.
Yeah. Well, and that commercial's meant to sell to children, and they're straight up not. Yeah. Like, those figures are for adult people.
Yes.
And so, as such, those are just little statues.
They're just little statues. The little cheaper statues.
Yeah. So, actually, it isn't bad that you want the statue, and it isn't bad if you want the action figure.
No.
I got multiple action figures all over the place. I've got the Batman Predator action figures, which were very expensive, and I want to open them and stage them so that they're fighting. Yeah. But I also don't want to open the box.
Yeah. Now here's a counterpoint. Not really a counterpoint, just another way to look at this.
Yeah.
Is it bad that I want like a Hobbs like plushie?
Right.
No,
because
it's not.
Bill Watterson finds that like a horrible.
Yeah.
He doesn't want you to have that.
But do I respect that he doesn't want to make it? Yes, also.
Right.
So. You know, even though I want that thing, like, I also get why he wouldn't want that made, and I understand it, and I don't have a problem with that.
No, but I'm also not going to stop my friend from making me.
Right,
exactly. Like, if I get one, I'm going to get it regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, like, yeah.
So the question of, like, should DC have made them?
No.
That's another question.
They can make whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's their company. Like,
right.
Well, and Moore wrote a story for hire.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, he's just also really good.
Yeah,
and the story mattered.
If Watchmen hadn't become such a big phenomenon, would Moore have even thought to say that, like, and I don't even know if he would say, like, you shouldn't make action figures on it, you shouldn't make sequels. I don't think he would have.
No.
I think he would have known that, like, yeah, of course, like, they're going to make derivative works of this.
Right.
If they want. Like,
yeah.
But then it became, like, a huge thing, and it got recognized as, like, this great, excellent piece of art and writing, and then it sort of became a little more untouchable.
Yeah.
And you give you a justification to say, like, they shouldn't mess with that.
Right.
Where for most comic books that you write, no one would even think to look at it from that perspective.
No, that's true.
Certainly not then.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think that there's room for the Watchmen show, again, like there was room for the movie. I remember there were a lot of people in my community who were like, fie on that. No, there shouldn't be a movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who cares? Like, it doesn't change the movie. It doesn't change the book. It doesn't hurt, like, the work. It doesn't say it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Well, you said Frank Miller wrote Dark Knight 2 and 3.
Yeah, and, well, he
Dark Knight Returns 2 and 3.
Having read Superman Year 1, there is no fucking way he wrote Dark Knight 3. Because he straight up did write Superman Year 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's apples and oranges, night and day. Brian Azzarello wrote Dark Knight 3 Master Race. I don't have an official word on that, but there is no question in my mind that is not written by Frank Miller. He said it in interviews.
Yeah.
But I agree.
Right.
It's just not. So, yeah. But he did write 2. Definitively. You could tell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like it's inherently bad to make another version of a, like, seminal achievement.
Yeah. Well, and again, like, because it was a sequel, well, and he's done prequels now. Like, not just Year 1, but also, like, Superman Year 1 is technically a prequel to Dark Knight Returns. Spawn Batman is technically a prequel to Dark Knight Returns. He wrote that Dark Knight, whatever the hell that was, with the Joker in it.
What?
There was a prequel sequel kind of book that he did, in which we see the death of Jason Todd in his universe.
Oh, yes.
And that was another prequel, and it didn't really damage Dark Knight Returns either, even though it makes Batman look like more of a lunatic. All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder. Hilarious prequel to Dark Knight Returns. Also doesn't inform Dark Knight Returns for me at all.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't hurt that also Frank Miller's, like, writing is so different now than it was, and that, like, it's easy to differentiate those two. Yeah. It's easy to say, oh, yeah, that's not a prequel, because it's written by practically a different person.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a totally different thing.
Yeah. Now, what I will say is, of course DC can make this stuff.
Right.
And it's not necessarily inherently going to be bad, but you are inviting comparisons to the original.
Yes.
And it's going to be really hard to live up to it.
Right.
In most cases. So, you're just kind of inviting people to say, like, that's a stupid idea, don't do that.
Yes.
And it probably is in most cases where you actually try to do something, like with Before Watchmen.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't knock it out of the park,
right,
it's just going to make people say, like, well, you shouldn't have done it because it's nowhere near as good as the original thing.
Well, and also it hurts because, like, here's another problem, just another issue with making derivative works of Watchmen is, what if that's the first, and in fact, probably more likely it will be the first version of that universe that people are going to be exposed to. And so as such, you have removed the vacuum that people had originally enjoyed Watchmen in.
Yeah.
You know, they read Watchmen, they'd never seen anything like it before. Now they know what Rorschach sounds like.
Yeah.
And now they're reading the book. Like, now they know what happens afterwards, so they know what the end of Watchmen is. That's, you know, and so that's another problem, and it's something that's unavoidable in pop culture media, where it's like, you're never going to be able to preserve the vacuum forever if you want it to make money.
Right.
Like, in an ideal world, no one would read Watchmen in a vacuum because it was so successful that we made ongoing Watchmen series.
Right.
But, you know, just I guess out of just the grace of the editorial department at DC, they were like, no, for a long time. They were just like, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Should there... would it diminish The Great Gatsby if there was all these like cartoon shows and like spin-offs of it so that you know exactly how the original story ended? Yeah, it absolutely would.
Yeah.
You know, and it would for most works. On the other hand, there are works like Sherlock Holmes, where it's like written as like, no, it always continues, and now it was the same guy making it the whole time.
That's true, but like, he's also public domain. Anyone can tell a Sherlock Holmes
story.
Now,
and it was never intended to be this like untouchable thing. It was kind of a pulpy, you know.
Well, and that's the thing, like, but
fun thing.
And for more though, like Watchmen was like a job.
Yeah,
you know,
it was
the original plan was bring the Charlton characters into the DC universe, and he's like, okay.
Well, no, he had that idea to do that.
Write them. No, they told him he was hired to bring in the Charlton characters under their publishing label because they just acquired them.
The story was that he knew that they had acquired them and he wanted to do something. And they said, no, you can't do that with those characters.
I heard they hired him to do it, and he did, and they were like, no. But we like it, so, you know, just change the names and stuff.
Interesting.
I don't know which one is the true version. Either way, he was doing a job for a company.
Yeah.
And so it just so happens...
But they all are.
Right. But like, well, you know what's funny, though, is that Alan Moore clearly cared because he cares when people screw it up.
Yep.
He cares, you know, and because Violator is a book that he wrote. You know, it's a 3-issue miniseries, and it's stupid as hell.
Yeah.
And so it's not like everything he writes happens to also be brilliant.
No.
He has to try.
Yes.
And so, you know, with Violator, like, maybe it's the most brilliant interpretation of Violator you could get.
It probably
but
is.
Even still, it's not like...
It's still Violator, though.
But it's still Violator, and it's not like... He didn't somehow weave this amazing tale about demonology. No. Like, it's just the stupid story he wrote.
Yeah.
Just like everything that he's writing for a company that has like silly derivative works.
Yeah.
It's just the Watchmen, he clearly cared and made something important out of it.
Yes. He and Gibbons.
Gibbons, yeah, absolutely. But jumping into the super chats really quick. Valentino G says, baby Boobastis plushies should be a thing though. You know what? At this point, why not?
Yeah, I would get one.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. Some friendless bastard says, testing. Well, welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for that $2 test.
Yeah, Noah Coos is super chatting for Sal. Love that guy. Hey. Thanks, man. He's pretty sweet. Thanks a lot.
Familiar, yeah.
Some friendless bastard help testing again.
What?
Welcome back, man. Some friendless bastard again. Work damn you. I see he's having an issue. The power of Christ compels you, he says. So yeah, you've helped us out, man.
Yeah.
Just you know, whenever you're ready, we'll be here to answer your question. But so yeah, with respect to this, you know, should there... I mean, like, you know, it was more of devil's advocate. You know, I can imagine that, like, there are going to be comments of this where, like, they never really answered the question. It's like, yeah, no, it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, it doesn't have an answer.
But if you were to... But if you had to answer it, you know, someone says, you can go back, you can make it all... You can make it all disappear and put a block on everyone's ability to want to make a sequel.
Uh-huh.
Or whatever.
or reality where that's
where
impossible,
it was impossible
and anything can happen.
Like, would you like, is the world worse or better with Watchmen sequels in them?
I mean, here's the thing. I already read Watchmen.
Yeah, that's
I already
true.
Got what I want to get out of it. So from a perfectly selfish perspective, it's like, I don't care what you do with it.
Right, do whatever you want. I'm done with it. That sucks.
If I'm looking for... if you're asking what I think would be good for other people...
Yeah, what's good for humanity?
What's good for humanity? I mean, it's just a book, man.
Right.
It's real tough, right? Because you have the idea of, like, it would be cool for other people to discover Watchmen in only its original, purist really good form.
Yeah, but even then, you didn't do that. You didn't read it month to month and with increasing delays when the book was coming out.
That's true. I didn't, and I kind of would have liked to know what that would have felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you're going to the comic book store in 1980
Yeah.
And you pick up the book, they're like, my God, what do you think? Like, you're talking to people in the 80s about that?
Here's the thing, though. I only read it because the movie was coming out. Oh. So that's how I, knew about it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'll check that out. That sounds cool. And I wanted to read it before the movie did come out.
Right.
Which I did. And I'm really glad I did.
Yeah.
But from the perspective of maybe I would never have read it without them. I mean, no, I would have at this point. But had I not known you, maybe I would have gone my whole life without having read it, and that would have been sad. So you could say that all this other stuff is good in that it draws attention to the original work, and more total people will read it.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is probably true. So in that sense, it's probably good.
Right.
Given that it's not like DC is aggressively, or was aggressively, or ever would aggressively promote the original Watchmen, in the same sense that they're not going to rerun movies that we like in theaters.
That's true. What about reboots and sequels? Is Lethal Weapon 4 demonstrably terrible compared to is it just the exact opposite of the message of Lethal Weapon 1 and 2? But it doesn't detract from those works.
Right,
but
and does it make more people go and watch the original one?
I hope so.
And then maybe you get some people saying actually the original one's better. Whoa! Then you can be like, yes, it is.
Yeah, did the Karate Kid with Jaden Pinkett Smith or whatever the hell that kid's name is, make people go watch the real movie? I hope some.
I would.
And
in
that
case, maybe it did some good things.
Yeah.
So maybe it's worth it.
Tevia says, "Why did Bendis ruin Doomsday Clock for the Legion?" The Legion of Superheroes is another element of Doomsday Clock because Johns wanted to talk about the Legion of Superheroes, and Bendis just clearly it was John's going someplace with the Legion of Superheroes, and then it took too long, and Bendis was in the bullpen, and they're like, "You're doing Legion of Superheroes now. Just do whatever you want.
Right.
Just whatever. Don't worry about what's happening to Doomsday Clock. Just do anything you want."
Like with Superman.
Yeah. And it's why they do that? Because Bendis is being paid for by DC, and he costs a lot, and they need to get their money's worth.
Yeah.
And, they don't care about what Johns wants to do with the Legion.
Yeah, we're going to hire you. You got to do something.
Yeah, right. You can't just hang around and
since you're a different person, it's going to be different.
Right. I had heard after King got, axed from Batman that they offered it to Bendis, and he was like, no, I don't want to write Batman.
Oh, interesting.
Thank God. He's already writing Batman Universe, by the way, which is really good. I like that book a lot. And Ruben Gonzalez says, Doomsday Clock is looking like it's not going to pay off the hype. I'm sure they will find a way to fake out the Superman versus Manhattan fight.
Fake out of the Superman.
Fake out of it. I think that if you think they're going to fight...
What would that fight be?
Right?
What?
He can do anything. In the first issue, they teased there's going to be a battle between Superman and Dr. Manhattan. And in every interview that Jeff Johns ever did for Doomsday Clock, he said it's not going to be like a fist fight because that would be really stupid. He has said that a number of times, and he hasn't said the stupid part, but he has implied it heavily.
Right.
Where it's it's going to be more like an ideological interpretation of ideas, and you're going to see them go
like a battle of wills.
And there is a implication of there being an actual fight. Superman's going to be so sick of Dr. Manhattan that he's going to punch him.
Right.
So yeah, but do you want to see that though? I don't. But also,
well, I guess you could argue though, if you're going to do it, then why not have them punch?
Right, and so they may. Yeah. But I think that you may feel, when all is said and done, that they faked out. But I believe that that the fight between the two of them will have always been the way it was always meant to be, and it's preserved the way it was meant to be, and that fight will be disappointing for people who want to see superheroes punch each other. If you're reading Doomsday Clock because you want to see Justice League versus Watchmen,
right? You
shouldn't be reading Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
Because that's not what this book's about.
You know what's interesting? You've been talking this whole time, and I agree with
sorry.
you. No, I'm just but in my head, what I'm thinking is okay, so mechanically,
right?
How would that work? And it literally just occurred to me, it's just like Batman fighting Superman. It's just taking, you'd have to do something super clever.
Yes.
Superman would have to do something with tachyons, just like Ozymandias did, to prevent John from being able to see what he's going to do.
That comes up. That's in the book.
Of course.
Yeah. Not that Superman's like, he goes to a planet that's made of tachyons and he bathes in them and he gets a cool new suit.
Oh my god. The tachyon suit.
Yeah,
tachyon Superman.
Yeah, tachyon Superman. And like, he glows blue too, but no dick. And like,
Well, he has one, you just can't see, he doesn't show it.
The tachyon suit, it's always been electric blue Superman. Electric blue Superman was made of tachyons.
He just gets his old suit or whatever.
Yeah. There you go.
Genius.
But they're not going to do that because that's silly.
That's fucking stupid.
Because this book was written in 1996. Like, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I missed Langley here. Said, history buffs in you will love Watchmen in the first episode.
Okay.
Yeah. As I understand it, it plays with, like, alternate history and also real history.
Right. Which is what Watchmen does, so that's cool. Like, that's what the original was. Watchmen is... To me, it's almost more an alternate history book than it is a comic book. I mean, it's a comic book than it is like a superhero book. It's not a superhero book. It is an alternate history of the U.S. If there was one real superhero and some other people who put on costumes.
Exactly. Some Friendless Bastard says, one thing the Watchmen show has surprised me with is how many people didn't know about the Tulsa race riots. I find its omission from public schools disturbing. Disturbing. I like how you spaced that out.
Yes, I've seen a lot of people mention that.
Yeah.
And I agree. That's one good thing that could come out of it.
Yeah, is normalizing it in the public consciousness.
Yeah, and I'm sure other aspects of history as well that could be brought up.
I would love that.
Show that people are less aware of.
Definitely.
Public schools.
I'm sure they talked about it.
Yeah,
but
But a lot of this stuff, when you read the textbooks, it's like, oh, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then it kind of glosses over like the true like horror of history.
History books are written as informative texts that are supposed to cram as much as they can into it. It's not going to be like a really World War II. Modern European history is like it's dense and boring, but it's actually fascinating if you're actually following it like it's a story.
Yeah. And also, of course, for high school, like the editors, they really shy away from anything that's going to be like potentially controversial.
Yes.
So unfortunately, it is dumbed down history.
Yeah.
Like the history that we learned.
I also find that with respect to putting real history that needs to be addressed in a mature and adult fashion in American society, maybe putting it in your alternate history science fiction show might not be the best place to get it discussed because it might be misinterpreted as not having happened. If you're gonna put in alternate history and then you're also gonna put in
but there's a proud tradition of that in science fiction,
yes,
where people can get exposed to ideas that they otherwise would not have,
right?
Because it's like putting a layer of separation,
there
where you're incepting the message into people who otherwise wouldn't even listen to it,
right?
And then someone can say that really
happened though, and it's
what?
that, I think that's why it's promising.
Yeah,
I was just more like a devil's advocate and being it's too bad that that's the only place that's the place we can finally talk about
that we can say that
this was a thing.
Great that people are learning about this for the first time through this show.
Yeah, through this alternate history thing where you could easily, anyone who has a vested interest in not talking about it, you will say oh no, it's all made up all the other shit. The blue guy wasn't real either.
Yeah.
But and I wouldn't know about public schools talking about that, because I haven't worked in one in a long time.
Oh yeah, well who knows what they teach now? I'm sure it's better now than it was then, and it's still probably not great.
I'm sure it depends on what school you're going to.
Highly, and what part of the country you go to school in.
Totally.
But this is one reason why, if you can go to college, I highly recommend it, because you can get a more holistic, accurate view of history, and many other things.
Well, true. Yeah, you're rewarded for deepening your understanding.
Yeah,
you're paying through the ass for it.
Yeah, you do pay a lot for it.
But so we're over time by about 47 minutes. But we figured we'd wrap it up by saying I think that anything that actually was a great point to make about the Tulsa riots, because it's hey, listen, this is widening the conversation and allowing us to shine further light on an issue that we're not going to be able to talk about, or that people don't give its due. So hey, why not? If there's intrinsic value attached to it, then there should be a sequel to Watchmen, because at the end of the day, making sure that true life horrors don't happen again is more important than Alan Moore's integrity. And so, you know, that's great. And so as such, like, you know, it makes me want to see the show more, but it doesn't make me like Before Watchmen more.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, one was made for money and the other one has something to say.
Yeah.
But yeah. So from there, we want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hey, listen, Ethan, you're on the show. Thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Welcome to the show. Hopefully we can do this again a little more.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see how that goes. But from now, we want to thank you so much for watching. Listen, a lot of things happening on this channel. GBU came out. Our old show, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. It's back. We just brought it back a new show. Check that out on the channel. Off the Rack review show for comics that came out. Watch that. If you like video games, twitch.tv/ComicPOP has Tiffany playing video games for a couple hours. You'll be there for like 3-4 hours. I don't know how long it is. It's a long time.
A long time.
It's
me and Ben even showed up in an episode.
Yes, you have. You play Minecraft sometimes.
Yeah.
So we'll see that happening. That's today. Back issues will come out tonight after the stream. So it's an incentive for you to go watch the stream. Once the stream is over, you'll know back issues coming out. So check that out, because Halloween is tomorrow. Not a big Halloween episode, but we did do a big Halloween episode. Like, it's a big episode, but it's also like...
It's Halloween themed.
It's Halloween themed, but we didn't do like a sketch or anything.
No. Not as big as sometimes it has been.
It's true. Yeah. But
still fun, though.
Still
Check
fun.
it out.
Yeah, please watch it. Watch them all. Subscribe, hit the bell, all that crap. And we'll see you guys here on Comic Pop for more. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And that's it from us. So, goodbye.
Bye. Goodbye.
Later.
Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks so much to our super chatters, our sponsors for today's episode. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.
Next time.